Season X here in Fortnite Battle Royale is really beginning to ramp up now as we are approaching the halfway point of the season already, and with each new week we are seeing new rift zones added in, we're seeing new secrets revealed, and all things of that nature. But of course, these seasonal map updates and the storyline progression is not new to Fortnite whatsoever, as it has been going on for quite a few seasons. But leading up to this point, the storyline has pretty much been all over the place, and we've seen all sorts of crazy things unfold over the course of time. So today we're jumping back into the world of Fortnite to take a look at the entire Fortnite storyline, including all of the live events and the things that led up to them. So without further ado, let's take a trip down memory lane. Now, although we are in Season X or Season 10 of Fortnite Battle Royale, we have not had 10 seasons worth of storyline progression. It instead all started back in Season 3 near the very end of the season when we first saw a mysterious light appear way up in the sky. At first, many players thought it was just some new star or maybe a texture glitch or something like that, but for a few days the light began to grow bigger and bigger, leading players to believe that maybe it was actually intentional. And sure enough, it was, as just prior to the end of Season 3, we saw that the glowing light was beginning to look a whole lot like a meteor, and with the launch of Season 4, those suspicions turned true as the intro cinematic to Season 4 depicted the giant meteor crashing down onto the island, completely flattening Dusty Depot and the factories, alongside various other locations all across the map. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is really where the Fortnite storyline got underway. From the launch of Season 4, we saw there were some mysterious hop rocks available all across the island, which not only piqued the interest of us, the players, but also some of the other inhabitants of the Fortnite Islands. And shortly after the launch of the season, we saw that various trucks were going around and collecting the hop rocks to move them all to an undisclosed location. Alongside that, we also saw that some of the areas damaged by the meteor's impact were beginning to evolve and change as well. Now, as the weeks went by in Season 4, the trucks continued to stockpile the hop rocks and head west towards a very mysterious layer built into the side of a mountain outside of Snobby Shores. But before we discovered the true meaning of that layer, we first had to see what emerged from the very mysterious pod that crash landed at Dusty Depot or Dusty Divot alongside the meteor. Now, this pod was pretty much the main focus point for Season 4, and around week 7 we ended up seeing the Blockbuster Skinner, the Visitor, emerge from the pod, and he immediately went towards the villain layer outside of Snobby Shores with one goal in mind: destroy everything. Now, the Visitor tried, and it was a good try at that. He actually launched the rocket at the end of Season 4, which sparked the first ever live Fortnite events, in which we saw the rocket nearly destroy Tilted Towers and perhaps the entire island for all we know, before it was mysteriously rifted into the sky, leaving behind a massive tear in the atmosphere. And that brought us into Season 5. Now, all season long with Season 5, things were a little bit more tame and calm than back in Season 4. That is, until the rift in the sky began to spit out purple lightning, which repeatedly struck a series of cactuses, or cacti, cacnea, wait, that's a Pokemon. Anyways, the lightning continued to strike the island time and again, before one massive lightning bolt spawned in a glowing purple cube, which we then later named Kevin. Kevin would then roll all across the map, leaving behind mysterious rune areas in various spots, and to cap off Season 5, Kevin the Cube dipped into Loot Lake, causing the entire area to turn into a massive bounce pad. And then we rolled into Season 6, where the giant purple bounce pad that was Loot Lake was completely shattered apart by Kevin the Cube returning in the form of the floating cube island, which was made up of the little center island in Loot Lake and the cube as well. Now, this cube island would traverse the map much like the original Kevin the Cube did, and corrupt all the rune areas, raising them into the sky, and when all was said and done, the cube island then returned to Loot Lake, where it then combusted and sent us all into the butterfly dimension in our second ever event. That then carried us into Season 7, where at the launch of the season, we saw an iceberg collide with the island, which brought forth places like Polar Peak and Frosty Flights, and also the Ice King skin, who would end up becoming the main character of Season 7. All throughout the season, all eyes were on the Ice Castle located at Polar Peak, where the Ice King had a dungeon full of very mysterious things, including something or someone that appeared to be frozen and locked inside of a giant ice block, and also a set of dragon eggs. Now, as the season progressed, the ice block imprisoning the prisoner began to melt, and later on into the season, the prisoner was actually able to break free. And as the prisoner escaped and vanished, so did the dragon eggs. Just after the prisoner escaped, though, the Ice King, in a furious rage, sparked a massive blizzard in the Ice Storm event, which covered the entire island in ice and snow. But the prisoner wasn't too fond of that, and quickly the snow started melting away because, as we would later find out, a volcano was headed to the island courtesy of the prisoner, who was actually the Fire King. Following a series of earthquakes, a volcano appeared on the island at the launch of Season 8, and both the Fire King and the Ice King each had a new base now on the island, with the Ice Castle still being the base of operations for the Ice King, and the volcano being home to the Fire King. All season long, these two would continue to try and best one another, and in the background, the Fortnite government was pulling off some pretty secretive construction, which would eventually lead to the creation of a brand new hatch at Loot Lake. Then in the closing weeks of Season 8, the hatch opened up, unleashing the Nexus Orb, which sent us into another dimension to vote on an item to unvault and bring back to the game. Of course, we all know the drum gun won that vote, but meanwhile, on the island, the Nexus Orb actually caused the volcano to finally pop its top and erupt, which sent imminent doom towards Tilted Towers and Retail Row, completely destroying both of those areas, and the volcano also damaged Polar Peak. And this event would then bring us into Season 9. Now, at the launch of Season 9, we saw Tilted Towers and Retail Row rebuilt as Neo Tilted and Mega Mall, which was all fine and dandy, but the real surprise was at Polar Peak, where the volcano's damage woke up a massive beast as an eye appeared frozen inside of the bottom of the iceberg. A few weeks into Season 9, we saw that the Polar Peak iceberg was then completely broken apart, and the mysterious eye and the monster that it belonged to was completely gone, with only giant footprints left in its wake leading out to the ocean. For the next few weeks, the monster would then come and go, smashing various things on the island, before it finally returned in the last few weeks of Season 9 to try and completely destroy the entire island. But in its absence, the Fortnite inhabitants built a huge mecha robot to fight against the monster when it returned, and that is exactly what happened in the final showdown event, in which the mecha robot was able to outlast the monster by using the Nexus Orb and the Singularity Sword to take down the monster once and for all. But using the Nexus Orb to get that extra boost in the fight caused the orb's energy to spread all across the island and create a time warp, which went into effect at the launch of Season 10. This time warp actually caused Dusty Depot and the factories to return to the island, and it also locked the meteor from the Season 4 intro cinematic in midair right above its eventual destination. In the weeks following, we saw Neo Tilted turn into Tilted Town, an area where building is not allowed whatsoever. We saw Retail Row return and replace Mega Mall, and we also saw that there is now a giant crater where the soccer stadium used to be because a rift beacon actually backfired. Now here we are about halfway into Season X, where we've actually just found out that the Visitor is the one behind all of the various rift beacons, and he's actually back on the island to try and complete another mission of some sort, and hopefully for him it's going to go a little bit better than it did last time. Curiously enough, if you actually go inside of the meteor in the sky right now, the Visitor's pod is inside of it and it's actually opened up. So yes, the Visitor is back on the island. He's pretty much the main character once again this season. And honestly, I'm just really curious how exactly this is all going to play out over the course of the next few weeks. With all of that being said though, that is effectively the entire Fortnite storyline up until this point, and that is going to wrap things up for today. Definitely drop us a comment down below letting us know which event and which season's storyline is your all-time favorites. I think the final showdown event is probably my favorite event of all time, but I also think the storyline of Season 4 was probably my favorite overall story, just since there were so many updates included within it. Of course, if you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure to drop a like on it, give it a big old thumbs up, and if you are brand new here to the Simply Fortnite channel, feel free to subscribe with your post notifications turned on. That way you'll always know when a new video goes live. As always, by joining the notification squad every single time we post a new video, YouTube will actually send you a message letting you know we've gone live. That way you can be the first person to watch, like, and comment on each and every new video. Once again, thanks so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and we'll see you guys on the battle bus. Peace out.